In this documentary-style story, we explore the often unseen and surprisingly human side of Hollywood, a world many people imagine as flawless, sparkling, and perfectly controlled. From the outside, Hollywood looks like a place where movie stars always shine, where every actor looks ready for the red carpet at any moment, and where every scene is filmed in a clean, polished space designed for beauty and perfection. But the reality, especially behind the scenes, can be very different. Robert Duvall, a legendary actor who has worked for many decades in the film industry, often says that the real Hollywood is not just about beautiful costumes, bright lights, and perfect makeup. It is also about long working hours, tired actors, stressful moments, and very real human problems that the audience never sees. In this fictional retelling inspired by his reflections, Duvall talks openly about something most people never consider: how the personal habits of certain actors, especially hygiene habits, can affect everyone on set. He explains that working closely with others means sharing space, sharing air, and sharing physical distance that is sometimes uncomfortable but necessary for filming. When actors must stand together in a small room, whisper a dramatic line only inches apart, or repeat the same emotional scene many times, even small things, like how someone smells, can become major challenges. Duvall does not tell these stories to embarrass anyone or to make fun of anyone. Instead, he shares them to show that even the biggest stars are still human beings with imperfections. He remembers times when he walked onto a set expecting calm professionalism but instead found himself struggling with surprising problems: air that felt heavy, rooms that needed more ventilation, and moments when makeup artists quietly exchanged glances because they knew they had a difficult task ahead. These experiences became part of what Duvall calls the real Hollywood, a place far different from what the public sees. Duvall begins this fictional reflection by talking about a legendary actor whose name has become almost mythical in movie history. This actor, who we will call Jack, though the description is fictionalized for storytelling, was known for powerful acting, unforgettable scenes, and a wild, fearless personality. But behind that iconic image existed a completely different side, one that only co-workers would ever know. According to Duvall, Jack sometimes arrived on set looking like he had stepped out of a storm, his hair untidy, his clothes wrinkled, and the scent of cigarettes surrounding him like a cloud. Makeup artists would prepare their tools, but often had to pause, trying to figure out the best way to work with someone who didn't always appear clean or freshly prepared for filming. They would sometimes ask politely if he could take a short break to freshen up, but he often laughed and brushed it off, saying he didn't need to look perfect to act well. In these moments, Duvall realized that the world rarely sees the side of acting that includes discomfort, awkwardness, or even frustration. He describes trying to stay in character while dealing with the thick smell of smoke drifting from Jack's clothes or the heavy air around them during tight scenes. What made this even more surprising to Duvall was that Jack always looked polished and elegant at award shows, interviews, and events. The public saw a refined, confident movie star, but the crew sometimes experienced a very different person, someone who did not put much thought into hygiene during intense filming schedules. This contrast taught Duvall how different public image can be from personal habits. Next, Duvall turns his attention to another legendary actor, whom we will call Al, again fully fictionalized to keep the tone respectful while capturing the spirit of Duvall's reflections. Al was famous for his intense eyes, deep emotional presence, and ability to completely transform into a character. But Duvall remembers a time when Al's dedication to acting became so strong that he sometimes forgot basic self-care. During long filming periods, Al would arrive with signs of exhaustion, such as unwashed hair or clothes that looked like they had been worn for more than one day. Crew members would gently shift away during scenes when they could, trying not to be rude, but still hoping to catch fresher air. Duvall explains that the smell around Al often came from long nights working on scripts, drinking too much coffee, and forgetting to take breaks. It wasn't that Al didn't care about people around him, it was that he cared almost too much about the character he was trying to bring to life. Duvall admired this dedication but also felt the real challenge of trying to focus on his lines when the room felt stuffy or when the air carried strong scents of sweat or old clothing. The makeup team also faced struggles, sometimes needing extra time to prepare Al for filming, especially when scenes involved close-ups. Yet, as soon as the director called action, everything changed. Al's talent was so strong that it erased every distraction. But as soon as filming paused, the physical reality returned, reminding Duvall again that movie making requires patience and understanding. The third actor Duvall talks about in this dramatized account is Gene, another powerful performer whose presence could fill a room. Duvall describes Gene as someone who didn't care much about fashion or appearance. He wore simple clothes, sometimes the same jacket for several days, and he didn't always notice if the smell of smoke lingered strongly on him. On some days, Duvall recalls walking into a room and immediately knowing that Gene had been there earlier, simply because the air still carried that scent of old smoke mixed with sweat. Crews joked privately that Gene's arrival could be predicted even before seeing him. But Duvall emphasizes that Gene was not disrespectful, he was simply relaxed, someone who lived life in a casual way and did not worry about what others thought of his habits. For Duvall, these experiences showed how Hollywood's glamorous image is built on top of very real, very human challenges. Actors might look perfect on screen, but off-screen, they face long hours, stress, heat, makeup, heavy costumes, and difficult environments that make hygiene harder to maintain. Duvall explains that being an actor often means sweating under bright lights, working in crowded spaces, and repeating emotional scenes many times. These conditions make it easy to forget self-care, even for the most famous stars. Hollywood has always looked like a place where every person shines brighter than the sun. If someone looks at posters, magazines, interviews, and red carpet events, they would think that actors are almost perfect beings who never face the same problems as normal people. Their clothes always look clean, their hair always looks smooth, and their smiles look like they come straight out of a dream. But in truth, Hollywood is built more on illusion than reality. A well-known actor who worked in the industry for more than 50 years once said that people would be shocked if they understood what really happens behind the camera. He explained that the public sees only the most polished parts of actors' lives, the parts that are carefully planned and shaped by entire teams of stylists, makeup artists, and publicists. But behind those bright lights, behind the perfectly arranged hair and the stunning outfits, there is a world that is sometimes surprising, sometimes difficult, and sometimes even unpleasant. He said that one of the biggest surprises for people outside the film world is how common hygiene issues can be on a movie set. At first, this sounds strange because actors are some of the most photographed people on Earth. But the long hours, the pressure, and the physical demands of filming can create situations where hygiene becomes a real challenge. On many days, actors arrive on set before the sun rises. They sit in a makeup chair for an hour or more while someone applies layers of foundation, powder, and sometimes even prosthetics. After that, they put on costumes that they must wear for hours, sometimes days, without washing, because every shot must match perfectly with the one before. Under the bright studio lights, the heat becomes intense. Actors sweat, makeup melts, and clothes absorb everything. Many people do not realize how much physical work acting can require. There are running scenes, fighting scenes, dance scenes, and emotional scenes where actors cry or shout again and again until the director gets the exact performance they want. Because of all this, a film set can sometimes become a place where strong smells build up naturally. Makeup artists stand very close to actors' faces, so they are usually the first to notice when hygiene becomes an issue. Costume designers must adjust clothing throughout the day, and they too often notice things that others might miss. But what surprised the veteran actor most was not the natural sweat or the long working hours. What surprised him were the few actors he met who seemed to ignore basic hygiene even when it caused problems for the entire team. He said that during his long career, he worked with many people who were kind, professional, and respectful, but he also met a few who made filming incredibly difficult because of their personal habits. He remembered one actor who looked perfect in public and who even played many romantic roles. Fans always talked about how handsome and polished he seemed, but privately, this actor cared very little about staying clean. The veteran actor said that this man would sometimes show up wearing the same shirt for several days. The shirt would begin to smell of sweat mixed with perfume, a strange combination that felt heavy in the air. Crew members would try to be polite, but he could see them step back slightly whenever the actor entered the room. Still, no one complained openly because the actor was famous and well-liked by audiences. This experience taught him that the gap between public image and private reality is often much wider than people imagine. Then there was the talented actress who struggled with her own hygiene challenges because of a skin problem that she tried to hide. She did not want the media to report on her medical issue, so she tried to continue working without taking time off. But the long hours, the hot lights, and the stress made her condition worse. The makeup artists did their best to help her, but the situation became difficult for everyone. Even though she looked perfect on screen, the set was filled with tension because no one knew how to talk to her about it without hurting her feelings. The veteran actor said that situations like these showed him how hard actors sometimes push themselves to maintain a flawless image, even when it hurts them. He also remembered a man whose hygiene challenges came from an unhealthy lifestyle. This man smoked constantly and drank heavily, and the smell followed him onto the set every day. His clothes, his hair, and even the air around him carried the marks of his habits. Other actors found it hard to film close scenes with him. Some tried to speak to him kindly, while others simply kept their distance unless the camera was rolling. The veteran actor said he felt sorry for the man because he was talented, but his lifestyle slowly affected his work. Directors grew frustrated because scenes had to be reshot, and makeup artists sometimes had to take breaks because the smell became too strong. Finally, the veteran actor described one of the most unusual people he had ever worked with. This actor believed that showering removed his creative energy. Because of this strange idea, he avoided bathing for long periods. He wore the same clothes again and again, and he rarely changed them. People on set tried to be respectful, but they struggled. The director even moved scenes outdoors or near open windows to make it easier for the crew to breathe. Even though the actor's performance was amazing on screen, the experience of working with him was unforgettable for all the wrong reasons. The veteran actor said that after so many years in Hollywood, he learned that the film industry is full of contradictions. On one side lies beauty, glamour, and perfect images created for fans. On the other side lies the human reality, messy, flawed, tiring, and sometimes uncomfortable. He said he did not share these stories to insult anyone, but to remind people that actors are human beings. They have good days and bad days. They make mistakes. They face pressure. And sometimes, like everyone else, they struggle with basic routines. Hollywood may hide these imperfections behind bright lights and fancy clothes, but the people behind the characters live real lives, sometimes far different from what fans imagine. When Robert Duvall finally sat down for an open and honest talk about hygiene problems he had witnessed during his long acting career, he made it clear from the beginning that he was not trying to embarrass anyone or create unnecessary drama. He said that he had spent many years working with all kinds of actors, some extremely dedicated, some carefree, some difficult, and some very surprising, but hygiene was one topic he had mostly avoided talking about until now. He explained that people who watch movies often imagine Hollywood as a perfect place full of beautiful faces, expensive clothing, bright lights, and red carpets, but behind all that glamour is a very real workplace filled with long days, hard work, and sometimes very uncomfortable situations. One of those uncomfortable situations, he said, was dealing with actors who simply did not take care of themselves the way they should have. Duvall said that when you work on a movie set, you spend many hours very close to people. You rehearse scenes with them, you stand next to them while waiting for lighting adjustments, you sit beside them in makeup rooms, and sometimes you even have scenes that require physical closeness. All these moments become extremely difficult when someone refuses to follow basic cleanliness. He said that he had seen everything from actors who avoided showers for days, to actors who almost never brushed their teeth, to celebrities who believed natural smell was part of their creative spirit. Some of these situations were so unpleasant that he remembered them decades later. Duvall said that the first time he encountered such a problem was early in his career, when he worked with a young actor who was very talented but had a strange belief that soap took away a person's natural energy. The actor always talked about wanting to stay raw and untouched, and because of that, he refused to shower for long periods of time. At first, the crew did not pay much attention, thinking he might just be tired or working late hours, but as the days went by, the smell became too strong to ignore. Duvall remembered walking into a small rehearsal room and feeling a heavy, sweaty odor fill the air immediately. The makeup artists tried opening windows, turning on fans, and even wearing masks, but nothing helped. Duvall said the experience taught him that hygiene issues could affect not only comfort but also the mood of everyone on set. He went on to describe another actor, one who was actually known for playing charming and romantic roles on screen. This actor had millions of fans, people who believed he was the perfect gentleman, always clean, always fresh, and always polished. But behind the scenes, Duvall discovered that the actor almost never brushed his teeth. There were days when the smell during close-up scenes became so overwhelming that Duvall had to breathe through his mouth or take small steps backward without being obvious. The crew quietly placed mints and chewing gum around the set, hoping the actor would take the hint, but he simply ignored everything and laughed off any suggestion that he needed better oral care. Duvall said that filming with him became difficult because the camera often captured subtle reactions of discomfort, forcing the director to redo the scenes again and again. Then there was the actress who believed deodorant was unnatural and harmful. Duvall respected people with personal beliefs, but he said that working with her was incredibly hard. She was friendly, talented, and professional, but during physical scenes, especially dance scenes, it was almost impossible to stay close to her. Every time she raised her arms, a strong odor spread around the room. The crew tried recommending natural deodorants, oil-based perfumes, and even herbal sprays, but she refused all of it. Duvall said the worst part was that she did not even realize how uncomfortable it was for everyone else. He remembered another case involving an actor he admired greatly, someone he had looked forward to working with for years. This man was known as one of the most skilled performers in the industry, but he had a serious issue with body odor. The wardrobe team had to wash or replace his shirt several times a day, because even fresh clothes absorbed the smell within minutes. The actor didn't seem bothered by it and even joked that his smell was part of his artistic identity. Duvall said that the smell lingered in dressing rooms and hallways long after the actor left, and sometimes even got transferred to costumes other actors had to wear later. He said that while talent is important, basic hygiene is equally important because filmmaking is a team effort. There was also a star who never washed his hands. Duvall remembered watching him come out of the restroom, walk straight to the catering table, and grab food without hesitation. The star touched props, equipment, and even other actors' faces during scenes without ever washing up. Crew members eventually stopped eating anything he touched, and some began bringing food from home just to stay safe. When Duvall politely reminded him to wash his hands, the star responded with a strange comment, "Germs build character." Duvall said it was one of the most confusing and careless attitudes he had ever seen. By this point in the conversation, he had already shared so many surprising stories that listeners were shocked, but he explained that these experiences were real challenges on set. He said that people outside the industry often think movie stars have perfect habits, but in truth, many of them are just regular people with unusual routines. And sometimes, those routines make life harder for everyone around them. For Duvall, hygiene was not just about personal preference. It was about respect for the cast, the crew, and the shared work environment. He believed that if someone expects others to work closely with them, they must also make sure they are clean, fresh, and considerate. He said that Hollywood might look polished from the outside, but behind every beautiful shot on screen, there is a team of hardworking people dealing with many challenges that most viewers never hear about. Hygiene problems, he said, were among the most surprising and uncomfortable of them all. Duvall continued his story by explaining that hygiene problems often affected more than just the actor's personal comfort. They also affected filmmaking itself, timing, scheduling, the atmosphere on set, and even the emotional quality of certain scenes. He said that one of the most memorable situations involved an actor who wore the same pair of socks day after day. The actor believed that washing socks made them lose their shape, and said he preferred to let them dry naturally. But as the days passed, the socks became stiff, smelly, and extremely unpleasant. Duvall remembered the moment the actor finally took them off. The smell was so powerful that people across the room reacted instantly. Some opened windows, some stepped outside for air, and others covered their noses. The filming schedule was delayed because the smell filled the small studio space, and the crew had to spray air freshener and wipe down the floor. Duvall said that it was unbelievable that something as simple as washing socks could have prevented such a problem. But the actor continued with that habit for the rest of the shoot, leaving everyone frustrated and disappointed. Duvall said that he learned that even small hygiene issues could turn into huge problems. He went on to describe another star who chewed tobacco constantly and spit into cups that he left all around the set. Some cups were accidentally knocked over, spilling onto furniture, carpets, and props. The smell of old tobacco and spit attracted flies and made some areas unpleasant to work in. Duvall said that whenever he saw a cup on a table, he felt nervous because he did not know if it was empty or full. He remembered one day when a staff member almost sat on a cup without noticing, and the entire crew yelled at once to stop him. The habit created so much stress and discomfort that people began avoiding the star entirely. Duvall said it was one of the dirtiest habits he had ever witnessed in his career. He said that movie sets needed to be clean and organized for safety reasons, so such behavior made everyone's job harder. Another strange experience he talked about involved a comedian who refused to wash his costume. The comedian believed that the smell and dirt on the costume helped him stay connected to his character. Even when the wardrobe team begged him to let them clean it, he refused every time. As the days went by, the costume began to give off a strong mixture of sweat, food stains, and general dirt. Duvall said that filming scenes with the comedian was difficult because the smell distracted him. The wardrobe team tried using sprays to reduce the odor, but the comedian noticed and became upset, saying they were ruining his work. Duvall said that it was a strange example of how artistic dedication could sometimes become unreasonable. He explained that while actors needed to feel connected to their roles, they also had a responsibility to respect the comfort and health of those around them. He said that filmmaking required cooperation and compromise, not stubbornness. Duvall then shared a story about a glamorous-looking star who, despite appearing perfect on camera, rarely showered. Instead, the star used heavy perfume to try to cover the smell. But the mixture of old sweat and strong fragrance created an even more intense odor that filled rooms. Duvall said that he often had to take deep breaths before doing scenes with that actor. Sometimes he stepped away between takes just to get fresh air. The situation became so distracting that even the director noticed the discomfort on actors' faces. But the glamorous star never admitted the problem and continued treating perfume as a replacement for cleanliness. Duvall said that this experience taught him that appearance does not always reflect reality. A person who looks perfect on screen can sometimes have habits no one would ever expect. Duvall also said that these hygiene issues were usually kept secret because studios did not want negative stories to spread. Many people behind the scenes suffered quietly, especially makeup artists and costume designers who had to work closely with the actors for long periods. He said he admired those workers because they dealt with situations far more difficult than audiences ever imagined. Duvall said that even though these experiences were sometimes funny to look back on, they were extremely stressful at the time. He said that actors with poor hygiene often made filming slower, harder, and more uncomfortable. He explained that when an actor does not take care of themselves, it affects chemistry with co-stars, the quality of emotional scenes, and the overall teamwork needed to make a good film. Hygiene, he said, was not just a personal choice, it was part of the job. Duvall also talked about how the industry slowly changed over the years. Younger actors became more aware of hygiene, partly because social media made everything more visible. Today's stars know that fans will notice even small details, so they take extra care of their appearance. They also understand that hygiene is part of professionalism, not just something optional. Duvall said that some of the stars he worked with eventually changed their habits after receiving complaints from crew members or gentle reminders from producers. But others never did. He said that he learned to remain patient, understanding, and respectful, even when situations were hard. As he spoke, listeners realized how surprising and sometimes unbelievable his stories were. But Duvall insisted they were real. He said that these experiences taught him that being a great actor is not only about talent. It is also about how you treat people, how you respect shared spaces, and how you understand the needs of the team. He said that hygiene might sound like a small issue, but it often reveals much about a person's attitude toward others. In his long career, he saw many examples of this, and each one left a lasting impression. He believed that talking about it now could help younger actors understand the importance of taking care of themselves and being respectful to everyone they work with. He ended this section by saying that Hollywood is full of surprises, and hygiene problems are some of the ones no one expects until they experience them directly. As Duvall continued sharing more about his long career, he spoke not only about the hygiene issues he had faced but also about the deeper lessons he learned from them. He said that every experience, even the uncomfortable ones, taught him something valuable about teamwork, patience, and the importance of maintaining a positive environment on set. He explained that acting is not just about memorizing lines or performing emotional scenes in front of a camera. It is about cooperation, standing together with dozens or even hundreds of crew members who all work toward the same goal. When someone arrives on set with poor hygiene, they make the day harder for everyone else, including people who already work long hours and deal with high pressure. Duvall said that many movie sets required actors to spend 12 to 14 hours a day in close quarters. Actors often sit side by side in makeup rooms, ride together in vans to filming locations, rehearse scenes in tight spaces, and sometimes breathe the same air during intense scene work. When someone does not take care of themselves, it changes the entire atmosphere. Instead of focusing on creativity or emotional connection, people become distracted by discomfort. He described several days when actors and crew members whispered among themselves about how to politely avoid standing too close to a particular person. He said that he sometimes saw makeup artists holding their breath while applying foundation or hairstylists spraying extra products in the air to mask strong odors. These small moments showed him just how impactful simple hygiene could be.